So I wanted to talk about subjectivity and objectivity by talking about the nature of reality itself through the lens of certain philosophical and scientific concepts. And so you may have heard of the concept of wave-particle duality. So instead of applying this concept of photons, which Einstein termed as a way of talking about packets of energy, instead of using the term wave-particle duality to describe photons and the fact that they behave both like particles and like waves, or ripples in the water essentially, or ripples in anything, what I'd like to say is, let's examine the concept of reality as being simply an expression of that, as if there is only a single photon that is both a particle and a wave, and that it is the perception of this one photon that appears as every single photon that you see, and every single thing that you see and experience, all of it as energy reaching you through this sensory input system of your body, or whatever systems you use, since we may not need our bodies in order to have an experience. That is it's an assumption that we have that's based on confirmation bias. We go, this is how we have seen it all along, and so we're going to continue believing that. But there is nothing to say that we cannot have a continuing experience, that experience is not a continuous thing, whether or not you have this body or some other body or some other body, or whether or not you have a body at all. Because our minds are certainly attuned to not needing this physical body in order to exist. They do it all the time, in dreams. As soon as you dream, the rules are very different. Why are you so accustomed to existing in that state? It's a very good question. And the answer potentially is because that's a natural state. Maybe that's a more natural state than being awake is, because in a sense, if you think about it, when you're dreaming, you are awake, just in your dreams. But for some reason, we need to go to that state of discontinuity in order for our lived experience to not exhaust us to the point of death. If you go too long without sleeping, you will experience psychotic shock and die. So there's something to this, right? So let's look at existence itself as having some foundational lack of continuity and ask ourselves if that is potentially a requirement of it and what that might look like. And that is why I mentioned wave-particle duality, the existence of things, the existence of existence itself as both a wave and a particle, where if you want to call it a particle, you can't, because it is also a wave. And if you want to call it a wave, you can't, because it is also a particle, and particles have characteristics that distinguish them from waves. Waves have characteristics that distinguish them from particles. It's sort of like if you turn on a certain channel on your TV, the channel itself is on a certain frequency that you can always access by turning to that specific channel. But then what is on that channel at any given time is constantly changing. What is on the channel, though, is like a particle in nature because it's definite. So when you turn on the TV, the signal that beams to your eyes is a definite signal of what's happening at that moment in time on that frequency station. But what's not definite is what you call that frequency itself, because it can take any form. It doesn't matter whether you're on channel 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on the TV. These are all different channels, but they can all show anything, even though they're expressing different frequencies. So in that sense, what people are is two things. You can either look at people each as an individual channel, and they're an infinity of numbers. There's channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're all different people, but channel 1 can show what's on channel 8. And then you could say now it is channel 8. But in this sense, channel 1 is really the person that is having the experience of being infinity. Channel 8 is the individual person having that experience of being infinity. It's just that at a given moment, channel 1 is displaying a certain thing. Like if I'm channel 1, I'm displaying this person right now. If you're channel 8, you're probably not displaying this person. You might be. You might be me in a parallel reality watching this in a way that I have not discovered yet to be possible. I mean, I assume it's possible. Maybe it's happening. That's a very weird thought now that I'm thinking about it. But the key is that channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and so on are not limited by their number. They're not limited by being 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. All of these channels have the same exact capacity, which is the ability to express infinity. 1 is infinity, 2 is infinity, 3 is infinity, 4 is infinity, 5 is infinity. And so if you try to define what channel 1 is, you can't. It's not like having Fox and ABC and NBC, where they have these very specific programs on these specific channels. It's more like if you recognize that what's on Fox, let's say you're channel 13, that what's on channel 13 is called Fox right now. That's like a person, essentially. I could be Fox or ABC or NBC, right? You could call me that, or somebody down the street could be NBC or ABC or Fox. But the idea is that channel 13 can't be Fox, because even though that's what it is right now, that's how it looks to us right now. Like, I can't be Andrew, even though that's what it looks like right now. That's what it is right now. And the reason for that is that just like I can't be Andrew, channel 13 can't be Fox, because it could show the programming from channel 1. It could show the programming from ABC, NBC, CBS, Comedy Central. It can show all of those. That channel is not limited in its capacity to show those things. It can show any content. That's the nature of it. As long as it's, pictures accompanied by sound, any content can be shown on that channel. And so in that same way, that's how consciousness works, is right now, my channel number, we could say, let's say my channel is 13, and the content I'm showing is Andrew. It looks like I'm limited by it. This is how we think about it in physical terms, in human terms. But I'm channel 13, I'm not Andrew. Channel 13 can show anything. It can show anything at all. And that's where the concept of saying that I am 13 becomes irrelevant, because really every number is infinity. Every single one is. And giving me a name like 13 comes out of an ordering. It's just a way of looking at something. It's just like our names that we have. I can say, I am this, and I'm Andrew, you're Bob, she's Jane. But really, that's not the name of the malleability that you are. It's a name of a specific thing. So we name things that are specific. A glass, we call a glass because it has a specific form. But if we were really to name the core foundational part of that glass, we were to name the structure of all of its molecules, suddenly you're giving a name to the thing that can be the glass, or it can be the microwave or the mountains. And the glass was a mountain at some point. It's not a glass, it's a mountain, because the mountain became sand on the beach, and that sand was fired into glass, and that sand that the mountain became came from, maybe had, I think, iron in it, which I think is what comes from a supernova, or is it lead? It's something very heavy comes from a supernova. So you can't really say that any one thing is just that one thing, because what it really is the capacity to take any number of forms. But if you try to name the capacity to take any number of forms, you are naming malleability itself. And malleability itself doesn't have a specific, if malleability itself is a malleability of form, by its very nature, it doesn't have a specific form. As soon as you give it specific form, as soon as you take the malleability of everything to be a glass, or be a mountain, or be a box, or be a train, or be a plane, as soon as you take that and give it a specific form like the glass, when you're talking about it as glass, you are no longer referencing the malleability itself. You're referencing an expression of malleability to be that form. And so if you get down into the nature of everything and you say, well, what I am is infinity, because that is malleability. What I am is malleability itself. Then that's what you are too. You are the same malleability that I am, that everyone is. You're the same infinity that I am, that everyone is. There is no difference in what we are at that level. It's just that at that level of malleability and infinity itself, we can't be distinguished into individuated things because there's no difference there. And that's because there can't be a difference. Because as soon as you restrict that malleability, as soon as you restrict that infinity, then it stops being infinity, it stops being malleability. And in fact, that restriction of infinity and malleability itself is what creates specific form. It's the restriction that now defines that form. It is taking the shapeless, formless clay and making it into something. Until it is shaped and until it is formed, it just can't have anything be said about it because it's pure potential. Potential becomes any number of things, so you can say that about it. But it can't be given a personal quality. In other words, you can't say, this is my formlessness and that is your formlessness. Because it's the same formlessness. You can't say, this is my infinity and that is your infinity. Because it's the same infinity. Because it has to be, or it wouldn't be infinite. If infinity didn't include all possible things and all possible infinities, it wouldn't be infinite. It would, by definition, have something finite, something confined, something restricted about it. In other words, if there were something about your infinity, or something about my infinity, that was unattainable to other people, it was not being expressed through them somewhere in their unconscious mind, that could never be expressed through them. Like if your infinity and my infinity were different, then it would mean that your capacity to express was different from my capacity to express. But there can't be a difference in capacity, because capacity is an expression of the root. It's an expression of the seed. A seed creates a plant, right? Well, what is the seed? The seed is existence itself. And so your seed being existence and my seed being existence means that we both have the same capacity. However, there is one thing about all of our existences that will be different from each other, and all of our infinities that will be different from each other, which is that I will always be me and you will always be you. Because we have a discrete experience of that infinity, just like the channels on the TV. It's like the channel Fox can't also be the channel ABC at the same time. You could have a show from ABC and then a show from Fox, but let's say there's Fox shows and ABC shows. You can't have a show that's a Fox show be a show that's an ABC show at the same time. Those are two different things. If you have a third show that's a blending of the two, like Family Guy meets, I don't know who's on some ABC cartoon, but let's say Futurama's on Hulu, right? Then you have Family Guy on Fox or whatever. So Family Guy meets Futurama, and they're in the same world, and you're going, well, now it's Fox and it's Hulu, but it's not, because there's Fox and there's Hulu, and then there's a combination of the two, which is its own third thing. So a channel can either be Fox, or it can be Hulu, or it can be a combination. It can't just be Fox and just be Hulu and also be Fox and Hulu. That's just impossible. You can't be one and many at the same time. You can be one or you can be many. Even if by being one, such as a particle, you are being of the many, being a wave, and by being a wave, if you're the whole wave itself, you also are made up of all the particles, just like you're made up of all the cells in your body, even though you are this one thing. You have cells doing all sorts of things, repairing your body, carrying blood and, carrying oxygen and minerals and nutrients and all of these things. And so you're many things all at once. You're an emergence of many systems expressing themselves at the same time. But you could also just be pure awareness. You can say that you are that and you're not the body at all. And this is what brings us back to subjectivity and objectivity and wave-particle duality and the nature of the universe. Because let's say that what reality is just a single wave that you tune into as a channel for this one wave. And that is objective, is that's the structure. There is a wave. But then the subjectivity is when you tune into it, you must have some experience. You must have some kind of experience of the wave. You can't experience nothing. So when you tune into it, you pick a channel out of it. And you say, this is me. So when that happens, the objective thing is that the wave is a composite of all possible channels. The subjective thing is saying, so think of it this way. The wave is a composite of all possible channels, and when you experience the wave, in a sense, you do actually experience all of those channels all at once. You don't really have the capacity to just be connected to part of it. By existing, you're connected to all of existence. It's how you travel through it, essentially. If you couldn't be connected to all of it, you couldn't experience it. Couldn't experience it. There would be things off limits to you. But the imagination is unlimited, and that's a means of connecting through to the infinite. It's your means of traveling through that infinite space in a very free, untethered, unglued way. So once you recognize the objective existence of existence itself, the objective existence of existence as a wave composite state, a composite of all states, once you have recognized that as an objective quality, all states, all things, it's all experiences that can be accessed, then the subjectivity is saying, this is what existence is, or this is what existence is, or this is what existence is. Because it can be all of these things. It can be, this is what existence is me sitting in a room. Is you listening to this? Is the birds chirping outside? Is water? Is wind? And because I am having this experience, that is true. This is what existence is. It is a continuity that I can experience from here to going to the beach, to flying around in space, to getting hit in the face with a ball. These things are all existence. And existence itself can't really be said to be the wave, because the wave, if it's just a wave, is nothing. It's nothing. It has to be made up of all of the particular experiences, of all the particles that are these particular experiences of single things that can be experienced. Those things all make it up, but they don't add up into the wave in a sense. Like, it's not really a gestalt. It's its own thing. Infinity is its own thing that is differentiated from everything that we know infinity to be. So you have infinity here as this unknowable, undefinable object that's infinite. And then you have us over here in this other realm, like looking at that thing and having a discrete, specific experience. And so this is sort of the magic in everything. This is how I view it scientifically, is that this is, I think, a part of the structure of reality, is that it is indeterminate. So if you could get a microscope and we try and look closer and closer and closer at the nature of realities, what's a particle, what's an atom, what's an electron, and the closer we get, the harder these things become to define, to the point that they seem undefinable. And you might wonder, oh, is it just our science creates this undefinability? I don't think so. I think that what is really going on is that the closer you try and look at it, the less ability you have to zoom in, because that's just not how it works. The closer you look at reality, the more fuzzy it becomes. It becomes more undefined. You look at a single object, I say, here's this coin. It looks like it's at a specific point in space. But if I were to zoom in on it, like really, really closely, at some point, there stop being definite, specific things. There's just a wave. There's just a roiling pattern of energy without any specific location. And if you try and look at something, it's almost like it moves and jumps and vanishes out of existence. And we see this in a principle we've named the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, where you really just can't say anything definite about an object. You cannot say the location and the speed, the velocity and the location of a particle at the same time. And those are really the two qualities that define what a particle is. So it's another way of saying that you just really cannot describe the quantum realm. It's beyond description. And we see this in what's called the quantum wave function too, which can be a superposition of all possible states. So we can say that a wave, or that we're looking at a wave function for energy, and we're saying that mathematically it's here, and 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 it's all these possible states put together. And then when you observe it, you collapse the wave function, you get specific data out of it. But until you've observed it, it has absolute potential. And so that is what I'm saying reality is this absolute potential. And that's you, and it's me, and it's everyone. And we call that infinity. Reality itself is this absolute potential. But until you observe it, it doesn't have any specific defined qualities that are something that you can qualify or quantify and say, this is the quality it is, this is the quality it has, except that it exists. In a sense, that's its only quality, because it is so malleable, it can be made into anything, into any experience, any connection, any sort of reality. So there's no reason in naming it as one particular individual thing. As soon as you individuate it into a something that is definable and conceivable, well, you're thinking now about the particular world that we create in order to have an experience of consciousness and perception in space and time. And that's how infinity itself, though, is timeless, because this thing, that pure potential, doesn't change. It doesn't need to change in order to be infinity, in order to be absolute potential, because it's just all possibility. And all possibility, by its nature, can't really be affected by time, because it contains all possible states of time in it. It contains all possible parameters and expressions that could ever be in it. And it is just that you need to relate to it in a certain way in order to experience each potential parameter and each potential unfoldment of time. That's what gives you that experience of it, but it's all in a single state by itself. And so again, that's the objective quality, is that it's all there. It all exists, right, in that potential. And that's what I was calling the wave earlier. But then the subjectivity is saying, well, what is it? And part of that comes from the fact that we just don't know. Like, it's total mystery.